nice to see you here. Like they said, my name's Angela Hultberg. I'm a Global Sustainability Director with Kearney. I've spent most of my time in industry, working for IKEA, working for Scania. You'll note right away, these are Swedish companies, and I am, in fact, Swedish. And I'm here today to talk about the difference between doing sustainability projects and actually becoming a sustainable business. These are two different things, and we need to start to act accordingly. We need to start asking ourselves, as companies, some really tough questions. And not tough questions as in, how do I decarbonize Scope 3? Or how do I actually measure the true cost of sustainability and the cost of inaction? But like the really hard questions, like do I have a sustainable business model that will keep me in business for another 50 years? Does my business bring more value into the world than it sucks out of it? These are the questions it's time to start talking about. Now, I compare sustainability to digitalization all the time. I see two people in this room that I have seen in audiences before, so you've probably heard me do it already. Thing is, just like with digitalization, sustainability has arrived, came out of nowhere, and disrupted everything. That's what digitalization did, right? Every industry was disrupted, every company was disrupted, and it just went boom. Except it didn't. Obviously, it did not come from nowhere. We had computers and advanced, computing capabilities for decades before it went mainstream. It's just that change is exponential. There's a lot of years where very little happened. You hear the murmurs, right? Those who know, they know. And they're usually desperate to tell everyone that the work they're doing will have a huge impact on the world, on businesses, just like they did back then. And nothing happened for a really long time. And now we're all using, Outlook, Excel, online sales, all of this. Now, I'm definitely not the youngest one in here, but maybe not the oldest one either. And I do remember a time when we had to work without those things. You couldn't Wikipedia anything. You couldn't ask ChatGPT to tell you the top 5 things you should probably be thinking about if you want to decarbonize your Scope 3. You had to rely on other things. And just like with digitalization, there is a hype, right? There were 1 million or a gazillion and 5 IT startups, right? We're seeing the same thing with sustainability. There are a gazillion startups up there. There's a lot of technology on the market promising to solve every single problem we have. And then there is a bit of a crash. And that's a little bit where I feel we are right now. Sustainability fatigue, if you will. Because we had a few good years where every CEO in the world went on stage like this, or at Climate Week, or at COP, and they declared net zero 2030, yay, or 2040. And they launched so many projects, electric vehicles being deployed, solar panels on our warehouses, all of that good stuff, right? And then there was a crash. But much like with digitalization, it's not like we went back after the IT bubble burst to be analog. We still have our Excel, unfortunately, and we have our Outlooks, and we have our online sales. And the same thing will happen here. It's not like we're going to go back to not caring about the planet. It's not like we're going to go back to trying to burn as much fossil fuel as we possibly can. We have shifted. But things will truly... they've never moved this fast, but they will never move this slow again. And some adjust to disruption, and they thrive. Like Netflix, a very small business whose business idea was to rent CDs with movies out to people that they could watch at home. They adjusted to digitalization, and they thrived. And then there were others, like Blockbuster, a huge company whose business idea was to rent out CDs with movies to people to watch at home. And they resisted change, and that's what happened with them. So it's time now to go from declaring net zero and everything fantastic to really start working. And there is a gap. There is a gap between where we want to be and where we promise we would be and where we actually are. And we call this the execution gap. Now, the trick is we need to be able to keep two thoughts in our head at the same time. We do need short-term wins. We need to decarbonize quickly. Unless we've reduced emissions by over 40% by 2030, we're in a world of shit anyway. Pardon my language. So we do need the electric vehicles. And if we can't go electric, pour some HVO, biofuels in those diesel engines. We do need the solar panels. We do need energy efficiency measure. We do need the LED lights, the natural lighting, all of it, because we need to reduce quickly. Now, it's not simple, but we know it, right? We do. We know how to become more energy efficient. We know that we can change our transport fleet to be a more sustainable one. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of resources. We need to reprioritize, but we can do it. Now, the hard questions are, okay, will my business model still be relevant to consumers, to businesses, to the planet in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years? Will I be a Netflix or will I be a Blockbuster? How do I organize myself for success? How do I make sure I don't spend all my time and all my resources to play catch up? Catch up with regulation, which is coming, especially in Europe, as a tsunami of CSRD, CSDDD, CBAM. I can go on and on and on. But like, if we talked about an alphabet soup for rating companies, I mean, now it's regulation, and that's actually more important than ratings. So there's lots to do. And you have to think about, how do I get it right? What is my end game? You have to have that long-term thinking too. You cannot just keep playing catch up, because you'll spend all your time and resources not getting very far. So the hard questions it is, how do I seize this opportunity? How do I go from compliance to creating value? So there are a few things that you need to do and need to know. Now, this is a 2-day lecture right here. If anyone wants it, I'm available. Come chat to me afterwards. But I've promised now I will do this in maximum 10 minutes, so we have time for some questions. So I picked the main 3 things. First of all hands on deck, please. Let's not torture our sustainability departments who have very little funding, very little resources, and very little mandate for, having them responsible for complete business transition. It's not reasonable. I've never met, even if it's a C-suite, I've never met a chief sustainability officer that gets to walk into the chief procurement officer and tell him or her exactly what to do. I've never met a sustainability officer who gets to tell the CFO how to spend the company's money. That's not how it goes. What I have met is many, many sustainability champions. So we have a small sustainability department, and then we have a network of sustainability champions or ninjas or influencers out in the business, in R&D and in procurement and everything. Never in my life have I met a cost reduction champion. Yet cost reduction is very, very important to most businesses in the world. But there are no cost reduction champions because everyone knows that cost reduction is an important part of doing business. And it is a real job. It's not an extra. And we still keep treating sustainability as an extra on the side that you can champion because you are passionate once you're done with your real job. This will never get you to your goal. All hands on deck. If you don't use the full force of your business, the skills, the capabilities of everyone in there, if you don't use R&D, sales, procurement, if you don't use them to reach your sustainability target, you'll never get there. It needs to be embedded, and it needs to be demystified, tangible, practical. every guy and girl in procurement needs to understand how they feed in to the vision. The vision then needs to be more than do less bad. We need to start thinking regenerative. How can we work with circularity to close loops? We have enough stuff. We really, really do. There is enough material out there to go circular, to stop dragging new things out of the ground. Now, many, many years ago, the Chief Sustainability Officer at IKEA, Steve Howard, sat in an interview in America and he said the forbidden words, peak stuff. And the rest of IKEA nearly died, like we're not allowed to say it. But he was right. And it took a while, but then the rest of IKEA caught on as well. And that's why we're now seeing more circular business models going into refurbishing, repair, resell, second-hand markets, etc., etc. And we need to really think about that. How do we construct a business that feeds itself so we're not constantly disrupted? And then end to end. If you leave here and remember nothing, just remember this. Think end to end. It is really hard to make this sustainable once it's already been designed and produced, right? Most sustainability decisions happen in the design phase, and that can be design of a product, but it can also be design of the business model. And you have to think it through, the whole thing. I'll give you one example, and then we can open up for some questions. If I'm manufacturing cars today, I know I have to go electric. There's regulation, there's customer wanting. I'll go electric. The battery is now the most valuable part of the car. So what do I do with that battery? What are the value pools? How do I tap into it? How do I make money off of vehicle to grid or V2X technology, battery storage? I want to make that money. Okay, but then I need to own or at least have access to the battery. Do I? No, because I sold the car to Jack Smith over there, and now I don't have access to the battery or the value pools. I need to change my business model. Should I stop selling cars like I'm Volvo or General Motors? But should I stop selling cars? Should I lease them instead? Then I have full access of the battery. I have access of all the materials. I can go circular. Then who's going to finance that balance sheet? A year's production worth of Volvos or Scania trucks or Mercedes-Benz? That's a big investment. Okay, so should it be more mobility as a service solutions? Or should I change the offering to a customer so they can buy the car, but I can still access the battery to go into V2X? Now, this is daunting, right? It's a lot of questions, but this is what we need to think about right from the start. Where do I make my money? What's end game? And how do I make sure that my business is so sustainable in itself that I will not be disrupted and I will use this as an opportunity to thrive? I know there's uncomfortable questions for Volvo to ask themselves. Should we stop selling cars? Should H&M stop selling clothes? Should IKEA not sell furniture? Super uncomfortable, uncharted territory. But we have to go there. Just because it's hard doesn't mean we get to not do it. Because honestly, all businesses and the planet truly depends on it. Thank you.
Angela, thank you. Look, I think we need stage 3 because there's so much more to say. But I was reading a survey on the Kearney website. Have a look at it. It's an amazing piece of work in which most business leaders you spoke to said that they thought their business is already regenerative or they're really getting there. Do you believe them, and are they telling themselves the truth?
Difficult, because these are our clients who answered the survey. But, I mean, I have not met a regenerative business in my life. I would argue, and I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I have never seen a regenerative business. I haven't seen one who has a clear idea of how to get there, and I haven't met anyone who's on the way to becoming one.
And therefore?
Therefore, I think we might be overestimating the impact of our projects. But again, doing projects, sustainability projects does not a sustainable business make. You have to do the boring parts as well. It's down to metrics, ROSI models. It's down to the KPI, incentivize. You have to do the boring stuff, not only deploy a fleet of electric vehicles.
Any questions from the audience here? There's yes, madam.
I think you'll get
just get the microphone
so they can hear you. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, we can hear you. That's fine.
Okay, good. My question is about, do you work with companies on culture as well? Your point about all hands on deck and champions really resonated with me, and having worked with organizations that say, oh, we've got the champions doing the recycling. And I wondered how much you find that culture gets in the way of the achievements that you're looking for in your work.
So happy you asked. Another 2-day lecture coming up. No, I've seen a great deal of sustainability strategies fail. A great deal of reorganizations fail because they fail to include just that change management module. You will face resistance, the same type of resistance Kodak faced when they did not want to go digital, and it cost them one of the world's greatest businesses. Change management is crucial. You will meet resistance, but that resistance comes from different places. Usually, I break it down into 4 archetypes. There are those who are not aware. There are those who feel like it's not their thing. This has nothing to do with me. I work on the shop floor. This is not my, goal or fight. Those who just don't understand, like, yeah, sure, okay, I could be sustainable. I don't know what to do. And then there are those who just resist. I call them popcorn kennels because, no matter how much hot air you blow at them, some kennels never pop. They're at the bottom of the bowl, right? They will never, ever pop. But if you organize your business, the targets, the goals, the metrics, the flight tower, the dashboard, all of that, roles and responsibilities, and it becomes an embedded part of how you do business. It's just there, like cost, quality, safety, sustainability, it's just there. Then those people can also choose either I want to work the way that company XYZ is working, or I choose to go and work somewhere else. But you have to understand where the resistance is coming from to be able to meet it. And then, as with any relationship, communication is key, but you have to want to also put your resources and your money where your mouth is. And that's why it's not good enough to say net zero 2030. You have to be willing to reorganize your business, and you have to figure out that end goal. So yes, culture is a huge part, but also a huge opportunity. Where do young people want to work? At sustainable businesses. Patagonia is not struggling to find people. The mining industry, however, is. And we're seeing now, mining industry, oil and gas, they're struggling to attract talent because young people, if you can choose, why would you choose to work somewhere where you can have no positive impact? Answer is they don't, and that's a challenge. People stay longer in their business if they feel that they are part of something that gives them purpose. So you will actually lower HR cost if you have a culture of purpose and impact. So there are so many benefits, and not only, we're feeling good about ourselves, financial benefits. Do you want to lower cost in HR? Answer to that, yes, lower cost on everything, right? And this is the way to do it. So it is important, but you have to walk the walk. You cannot just talk the talk.
Angela, thank you. I'm really sorry. We've got to move on and keep the day rolling on. We could move to stage 3 with this. Angela, you're around, aren't you?
I am around, yes.
So look, if you've got any follow-up questions for Angela, I'm sure she'd be delighted to have a chat. And there's a lot of themes that you've spoken about, the culture change that's required and where people want to work and how they want to work, that we're revisiting throughout the day, certainly here on stage 2. So we'll keep up with that. Angela Kearney, thank you very much indeed.
Thank
Angela
you so
Hultberg.
much for having me. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.